Hello everyone, my name is Layton Delaney and I have a video project to do today. And for this video project, I was tasked with analyzing some literature. And the literature that I chose to analyze was called The Lottery, written by Shirley Jackson. Um, this is a story, it's a short story, and it was written by Shirley Jackson. At first, I thought it was going to be about something winning, something good, a grand prize like the Powerball, some money, or some type of reward. But it was nothing like that. The story flips and the idea changes when it turns into explaining how dangerous it could be when people follow traditions without ever really questioning them. The story takes place in a small village once a year in a community where people get together and they have a lottery. And this lottery is hosted by everyone in the village: men, women, children, elderly people, and they all put their names in slips inside of a black box. This black box has been in tradition for a long time, and it seemed like it's just a normal day. There are children picking up stones, men talking about farming, and everybody's just going about their day-to-day day. But this one day out of the year, it ends up changing, and it turns a tragic turn where people end up getting stoned to death at the end of it for winning this lottery. By everyone in the village, even their own family members. The children are involved, the men are involved, everyone. And it had me asking, why? What's the point of this? That's the thing. There isn't really a clear reason to why they do the lottery or what is the purpose of it. But it wanted you, and I think that's what Shirley Jackson wanted you to notice, that because there's a part where Old Man Warner says nothing but trouble in that a pack of young fools. Old Man Warner was an older senile man inside this story. And when he says this, it was to somebody who mentions about there's other towns around that are getting rid of the lottery. So the lottery was all over. And that line stood out to me because it shows how older generations sometimes hold on to traditions out of fear and not accepting change. They don't want change. They don't want things to happen any differently. And that's like now with older people. They see something works and they don't want to implement anything new onto it because it works already. If it's not broke, don't fix it, as a term you may have heard. Um, Even if that tradition was violent or cruel in this setting. Another thing I noticed was the power dynamic in the story. Mr. Summers, he was a man who is in charge of the lottery, and it's the men who draw for their families. Women in the story don't really have a voice. Take Tessie Hutchinson. She's a wife of one of the men inside the story. And for example, when her family gets picked for this lottery, because they select by families or households, she tries to speak out like, hey, it's not fair. There must have been a mistake. You didn't give her husband enough time to select it. Her husband, Bill, he speaks out, shuts her down real quick, and silences her. Doesn't give her opportunity to speak. And he seems pretty stoic. Like he's like following just tradition. He's following what everybody else is doing. He's taking control. And the whole town, and even her own kids, turns on her. They end up, the scene, it bothers me because it shows how people can follow harmful systems just because that's the way they've always been. And the overall message of the lottery is that blindly following tradition can lead to some dark places. Jackson is asking us to think about why we do the things we do and if those things really make sense. Are we just going to go along with the stuff because someone else does, or are we thinking for ourselves? And a reminder that change is necessary even when it's uncomfortable. And that if we don't question harmful traditions, we risk passing them down to future generations. I'm in a position where I work at the Boys and Girls Club and I work with children, and I implement things towards them, and I take the advice or the trends or things that are around, and I apply change to those tactics when I mentor or provide assistance to them in their day-to-day task or their life. And I think that we need to implement these kind of changes for the betterment of, the future. We need to grow. We need to grow. And if we stay in things that we're already familiar and comfortable with, we'll never experience new things. We'll never grow as a community, people, at all. It wouldn't happen. There would be no growth because you're stuck with something in a closed mindset. Reading this actually reminded me of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I didn't read the story, but I was able to watch the film, and both stories show societies that use rituals and fear to control people. And both challenge us to ask, is this really right? So yeah, if you haven't read The Lottery yet, I would definitely recommend it. It's a short read, but it really makes you think if tradition should be followed, or should change come and bring new values. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.